This is a spaceship, a virtual spaceship, for travelling in time, fueled up and ready to go. Let's blast off on a journey to the Time Warp Tavern, a friendly pub with a difference. Join Russell and Lawrence there as they revisit their experiences of life as two young boys growing up in the 1960s.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff.
What will they be talking about today?
And just wait until the rice paper melted.
And it was in an oblong, I think it was red packet.
It was like a wax paper.
I do remember it, now you said that, yes I do.
Yeah, that feel of anticipation.
Yeah, it's all part of the nostalgia really.
Tasting and smelling things is a very powerful kind of memory, isn't it?
Yeah. When you're reminded of something that you've forgotten about, like a sweet,
Yes.
the taste and the smell of them takes you right back to where you were at the time.
That's right.
I'm talking about when you were growing up.
Hmm.
Your dad used to run a grocer's shop.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been a strange mixture of exciting and frustrating for you because he had all these rows of sweets and things on shelves that you could see but you couldn't access.
Well, indeed. Now, most of it was what I would call sort of grown-up confectionery, really.
Grown up, yeah.
So it's sort of like, wafers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Semi-confectionery.
Semi-confectionery.
It was like semi-grocery as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
they were halfway between sweets and biscuits.
Yeah. So Bandit.
Bandit,
Taxi.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yes.
No.
Another one of those was Wagon Wheels.
Wagon Wheel, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I got the kind of third division wafer, so I'd get a Taxi.
Third
which I
division.
which I didn't really like.
Yeah.
But on the odd occasion, I'd get a Bandit, and I really like Bandits. And then I would occasionally get a Wagon Wheel.
Yeah.
Now, to me,
Yeah.
Wagon Wheel was a bit of a mixed blessing because I quite liked the chocolate and the foamy bit, but I wasn't so keen on the biscuity, crunchy bit.
But they were quite big, and I think they were a little bit more expensive, Wagon Wheels, weren't they?
Yeah.
You had those sort of stick-on posters, didn't you, on windows that said what the offers are.
It would say threepence off. It would
Yeah.
tell you what they've reduced it by in order to make it more attractive. We didn't sell sweets in our shop, but we did sell wafers.
Yeah, that reminds me. Blue Ribbon and Penguin.
And
Pick
Club.
up a Penguin.
Club biscuits, remember them?
Club, yeah, that's right. If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the day when my dad came back from cash and carry.
Yeah.
And the wonder of this,
Cash and carry.
he came back with a box of flakes
A box.
and opened it up and it was full of flakes.
What would it be, 24 or 36 would it be? Something like that.
Well, my age,
Yeah.
probably, I don't know, probably at least a couple of dozen.
Right.
And so what I had to do was I had to go to my mum and say, please may I have a flake?
Please may I?
And my mum would say, yes, you can have a flake. And then the next day, Mum, please may I have a flake? No. And then sometime later, I sort of challenged her on this.
Yeah.
I said, why is it that sometimes I come to you and say, please may I have a flake? And you say yes. And then other times I come to you and you say no. And she just burst out laughing. It's sort of been caught out.
I was just thinking, though,
Yeah.
there's always sweets that you didn't like when you were a child.
Mm.
And in order to get to the good ones, you had to go through the bad ones as well. You know, and it's sort of become a metaphor for life. Cool. Hasn't the nature of actually buying sweets in a newsagent's or sweet shop changed over the years?
Well, it has.
You know, when there'd be a person behind the counter serving you loose sweets.
Yeah. Now then, of course, standing behind the person behind the counter would be the rows of jars behind them.
Yeah, the jars.
With all the different things. So then you would ask for a quarter of this or a quarter of that. Yeah. You might get a quarter of lemon sherbet, please.
Yeah.
And they'd pour out lemon sherbet and you'd eat it by putting your finger in and sucking it off your finger. And you'd end up with yellow stains.
Yeah.
Made you look like a smoker.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Look like you've been cooking with turmeric.
Yes. And then you'd get
sherbet lemons, right?
Sherbet lemons, of course. And I remember the woman in the shop, I would have only been 4 or 5, I suppose. And my mum would say, well, what do you want then? And the woman behind the counter would say, oh, let him ask for himself. What do you want, love?
Yeah.
And say, Can I have 2 pink shrimps, please? Of course you can, love.
Then, of
Yeah.
course, you'd be self-conscious because everyone was looking at you.
Oh, yes.
'Cause you've
Oh,
been-
that's the worst thing.
Attention had been drawn to you
Oh,
that
no, that's
he
the
can
worst
ask for
thing.
himself,
Oh, no. That's not what you want. You want to be completely anonymous.
Yeah, you just want to slip in and slip out and just get the sweets you want
Yeah.
with a minimum of fuss or contact with adults, basically. Yeah.
And a jamboree bag.
Yeah, well, see, that was another thing. You felt like you were getting a lot for your money with a jamboree bag. You get like a mixed bag of all sorts of things, didn't you?
You did, and
Yeah.
including a horrible toffee lolly.
Yes, that's right. You see, in anything, whatever it is, there's always something you don't like, which you've got to get through in order to appreciate the good stuff.
And of course, there were 2 versions of the jamboree bag, weren't there? There's the threepenny one and the
Yeah.
6penny one.
Yeah, that's right.
And
yeah.
I would only get the
Yeah.
threepenny one.
Yeah.
Anyone that got the 6penny one, well, they're probably quite posh.
Yeah.
And it would have slightly better sweets in it.
Yeah.
Now, my recollection is that most of those sweets would be like the kind of candy, sugary.
Yeah.
Now-
Talking about jars of sweets, I'm just thinking what some of the others were.
There was a kind of an apple. Was it Apple Jacks? Did they call them?
Possibly. Rhubarb and custard.
Oh, rhubarb and custard.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were quite nice. Didn't taste like rhubarb and custard,
No.
but they were quite nice.
I tell you what, I would prefer myself is
Yeah.
dolly mixtures.
Actually, that's going right back. I don't think I've had them since early childhood.
Hmm.
Because they had the word dolly in the title, I used to avoid them because there was an association with girls that you didn't want when you were a young boy.
They were really, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, going back to the little small sweet counter.
Yeah.
Sweet cigarettes.
Sweet cigarettes, yeah.
But do you remember sweet matches?
No, I don't think I do, actually.
It's just like a miniature version.
And the cigarettes, they had a little red bit on the top.
Yeah.
It was like
You'd lick that off.
Yeah.
And you'd suck the cigarette until you got a long thin point on it.
On reflection, they weren't very nice sweet cigarettes. They had not really any flavour. They were just sweet, weren't they?
No.
And they were hard.
But I'll tell you what. You know, we used to get like American Civil War cards.
Yeah.
And it would be in that kind of waxy paper thing. You open it up and there'd be a little oblong of pink chewing gum.
Yes.
With a fine dusting of sugar on it. And I just used to love the smell of that. But the smell of it when you opened up the waxy paper, it's just, catch that moment.
Yeah, that's triggered another memory, actually, talking of that. Chewing gum type things.
Oh, Bazooka Joe.
Yeah. Used to be a little comic strip with it, didn't there?
Yes.
A little colour comic
That's
strip.
right. I think the cartoons were kind of a bit like American comics, as I recall.
Bazooka Joe and his gang, wasn't it? That's what it was called.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember High Blow chewing gum?
Oh, High Blow.
And you open it up, and it was basically like a big wheel, and the middle bit tended to have a hole in
Yeah.
it.
I was never able to blow bubbles with bubble gum. Other kids could do it, and I used to look at them and think, I wish I could do that. It's like whistling. I can't whistle.
Wrigley Spearmint.
Yeah.
And Juicy Fruit.
Juicy Fruit, that's right.
Which is like a juicy version of Wrigley Spearmint in a yellow
That's
wrapper.
right. And there was Double Mint, wasn't there? Was it called Double Mint?
Double Mint.
It was like, I think it was just double flavour.
Yeah.
And Beech Nut, wasn't it?
Beech Nut was the one in the little green and yellow
Right.
peanut rings.
Oh, peanut rings,
Absolutely love them.
Yeah,
Peanut
they were
rings.
nice. I quite like them.
And Orange Pips, do you remember them? They come in a big jar.
Yeah, I do.
Quarter of Orange Pips,
Yeah.
please, mister.
Yeah, they look like little chickpeas, didn't they?
Yeah.
That sort of size. Yeah. I'd forgotten those.
What else did they... What were those chocolate buttons? On one side, they had like hundreds and thousands.
Hundreds and thousands,
on
yeah.
them.
Yeah, I used to quite like those.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing, certain sweets, I used to consider them grown-up sweets because they didn't seem appealing to a child's palate.
Yes.
And they were sort of either grown up and not very tasty, or they were boring.
So are you thinking dark chocolate now?
Dark chocolate, coconut ice, which seemed like bland sweets, things which and the other thing I always hated, I never saw the appeal of them other than some kind of solution to travel sickness, was boiled sweets.
Oh, boiled sweets. No.
I mean, barley sugars. Ooh.
Oh, God, no.
I mean, my mum would buy sort of things like quarters of barley sugars and suck on them, and I used to think, not only are they not nice, they're boring as well.
Yeah, they're boring.
You know.
It's something you would have on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's almost like Sunday had its own sweets as well, you know, things which were sort of grim and depressing.
Yeah.
Sort of connected to loose sweets in jars. You also had cheap sweets, didn't you? You know,
Yeah.
because kids are quite faddish. I remember going through phases where I would go into a sweet shop. You perhaps have sixpence to spend or something like that. and you would just get a load of little things, like you would get some halfpenny chews, maybe a couple of flying saucers in there, blackjacks and some fruit salads maybe. You get 4 of those for a penny.
Yes.
They were basically effectively a farthing each, weren't they?
Yes.
And you'd come out with a little white paper bag full up, bulging, and you think, wow, I've got all this stuff. You know, quantity rather than quality kind of thing.
Yeah. So you remember the yellow banana thing?
Yeah, I remember
Now,
those.
a friend of mine called Bill used to prefer the chocolate banana,
Right.
which was one of those covered in chocolate. And I always thought that was not really appropriate.
Now, this was something that, a combination that didn't appeal to me very much, was lime plus chocolate, which was done sometimes.
No. Unless you're talking about Dairy Box, we had lime cordial.
That would be different. Brookney sherbet, do you remember those? With a black piece of licorice sticking out the top.
Oh, yeah.
And flying saucers.
The flying saucers, well, they were kind of a mixed kind of bag, really, because you had to get through that horrible rice paper before you got to the nice sherbet.
It was like eating kind of like thin cardboard, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was horrible.
Another one of those kind of what you might call cheap sweets was sweet tobacco.
Coconut.
Yeah, looked like Golden Virginia packet, didn't it? But it was red, I think.
Yes, I think it was. Why am I thinking of a picture of a galleon?
It was association with pirates, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sweet tobacco for some reason. I don't know why.
Old Tobacco or
Old Jamaica.
Old Jamaica.
Yes.
What was that?
I remember the TV ad. It was like Long John Silver. Aha, step a lively. 'Tis your daily ration of Old Jamaica.
Yeah, so there's another racist avenue. We're not allowed to go down anymore.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of chocolate with raisins and rum.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah.
Which is much more an adult thing, really.
It is, isn't it?
Do you remember little coconut mushrooms?
Yeah, I used to like those.
Yeah.
You could buy those in jars. They were loose, weren't they?
You get a quarter of them, probably.
Yeah, coconut mushrooms, yeah. God, I'd totally forgotten those. Yes.
Yeah. A sherbet straw.
Yes.
Originally in a clear plastic tube.
Yeah.
Bite the end off and try and suck it. And then it changed to paper with a kind of green and white spiral pattern, or blue and white, and that would contain sherbet. And the problem was you break the end off and try and get the sherbet out, and of course you'd make it wet with saliva and then it'll get bunged up.
Yeah, licorice went like that as well, didn't it, when it got too wet?
Yeah, I was never a great fan of licorice.
No, I wasn't.
Because the taste was too strong, I thought.
It was kind of bitter and harsh, wasn't it, licorice?
But unless you had licorice all sorts, so it kind of took away the...
My favourite ones were sort of like sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 3 layers.
Pink, black and pink.
Yeah, square or round.
Yeah.
And it had a little bit of black in the middle, didn't it?
That's
like
right.
A layer.
Yeah.
Do you remember Pez?
Oh, yeah. Remember the little Pez packets you got? With the little Pez?
Yeah. I've got Pez dispenser. I think it's Donald Duck. And I've actually got an unopened packet of Pez sweets. I mean, I wouldn't consider eating them now.
Well, you've outdone me there.
Yeah.
But the extraordinary thing is, I mean, God knows what chemicals they put in it.
Yeah.
50 years on, it's like half a century.
Yeah.
They still look pristine. They haven't gone mouldy or anything.
No.
These sweets.
Well, this packet, it looks brand new. Apart from the fact that I wouldn't want to ruin the packaging now because I've kept it all this time.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't like to think what condition the sweets were in anyway, even if you did want to eat it, you know.
Yes.
Favourite chocolate bars?
Can we think of the names of the manufacturers? So you had Cadbury's, you had Rowntree's,
Yeah.
you had Nestle's,
Macintosh.
Macintosh,
Yes.
Callard and Bowser.
Juicy jellies.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
juicy jellies.
When you say Callard and Bowser, that's what comes into mind.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Nuttles as well. As I said,
Nuttles.
they made Mintos.
Nuttles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fries.
Oh, of course.
Fries.
Fries chocolate cream.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these chocolate bars and wafers kind of got smaller and smaller, didn't they?
Yeah.
And Topics.
Topics.
And Mars bars both used to be really quite substantially big.
Right.
And a Bounty bar, I can remember you really had to bite quite hard to kind of break through the chocolate. It was that thick. And all the stuff inside was quite syrupy and runny. Now, they're, by comparison, they're very dry.
I don't eat those things anymore, so I wouldn't know. But Bounty was one of my favourite chocolate bars, I think.
It's a taste of paradise, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Some sort of Hawaiian beach somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. It was just one of those things. They got the ingredients right in the right proportions.
But
And
plain Bounties didn't work.
Didn't you
for
know
me.
that?
No.
I like both, actually.
Did you?
Because the coconut was very sweet. That counterbalanced it very well, I thought.
Right. On there, it might have been Rayners Lane station. They had a confectionery dispenser there.
Yeah.
And you could get Nestle's chocolate, which I think was sixpence at the time.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I think it was sixpence, or a tanner, of course.
Yeah.
And I put my sixpence in. I pulled the slot, and half the chocolate bar was missing. Somebody had gone in with a penknife.
Really?
They managed to cut half of it away and nick half of it. So I only got half a Nestles. It was never as good as Cadbury's.
I think my parents favoured Cadbury's actually, because that was always what they seemed to go for. You know, Cadbury's Dairy Milk, those big 2 and 6p blocks.
Yep.
You know, above all else. And I suppose a lot of the sweets and bars as well were to do with Cadbury's.
Do you remember the little toy plastic Cadbury's chocolate bar dispenser?
Oh, yeah,
thing?
that's right.
And I don't know if you had to put a penny in or something
You did.
to get the
You did.
chocolate out.
Penny, yeah.
And I just used to look at this and sort
Yeah.
of salivate and think, I'm never going to be lucky enough to get one of these. And
Yeah.
all it was just a bit of plastic.
I got one for Christmas one year.
Did you really?
I got one. You know, you used to get those packs of like miniature chocolate bars
Yes.
in a little box. And I got one milk and one plain, like Bourneville. And you had two sides, didn't you? You had two columns in it. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
One for milk, one for plain. And I
Yes.
put a little row in of each, filled it up from my box.
Yep.
Oh, another sweet, actually. Not sweet, but a bar, which was quite nice. Raspberry Ruffle.
Oh, yes.
Well, you could get them individually and you could get a bar, couldn't you? There was a Raspberry
yeah.
Ruffle bar.
Yeah.
Now, that was another brand. Now, who made them? Jameson's, was it?
Yeah.
The other main brand at that time, as well as Cadbury's, I'm not sure how they differed, but was Galaxy.
Galaxy, yeah. That was a bit creamier, wasn't it?
Right.
And then you got white chocolate, of course.
It used to taste a bit sickly.
And same thing with Caramac. You just
Yeah.
had 1 or 2 cubes. You could eat a whole bar of Cadbury's milk chocolate, but you couldn't eat a whole bar of Caramac. Or if you did,
No.
you'd feel
No.
a bit sick.
Yes, that's right.
The Mars bar, to me, is like the confectionery equivalent of the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
You get to a certain point and you kind of transcend fashion.
Yeah.
And so the Mars bar is kind of almost like part of folklore now.
Yes, it's odd, that one, because I never liked Mars bars. I always think
Really?
they gummed your mouth up. I thought it was one of the most uninteresting chocolate bars. I never understood why it lasted.
Well, the Mars bar would always turn up in my Mars confectionery selection on Christmas
Right,
morning in
yeah.
those funny plastic stockings
Yeah.
with the netting on it. And I used to like the pattern underneath on the bottom side of it. It had kind of a zigzag pattern, which I quite liked.
Interested in the aesthetic things as much as the
Yeah.
the actual taste of the
Yeah.
thing. I think when Marathon came in originally, that was quite different, wasn't it? I liked that.
Yeah.
That worked very nice,
Yeah,
actually.
I like Marathon.
And I ate quite a few of those at the time.
Toffee cup,
Toffee cup, yeah.
which was in the shape of like a bone. It's wrapped in red and white and black foil and had a soft centre.
And of course, there was Milky Way. That was okay, but that was a bit lighter, wasn't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. I really like Milky Way. And a kind of a slightly more modern version of that came out around about 1970, 69, 70,
Right.
called Super Moose.
Super Moose, yeah.
And there was,
Yeah.
there was a picture of a cartoon picture of a moose on the label.
Yeah, that's
And it was
right.
a blue wrapper.
Yeah.
And it was like, to me, it was like a superior version of Milky Way.
Another
Even
bar I
better.
used to like, which didn't last that long, it was one of my favourites, was Aztec.
Oh, Aztec.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember the Aztec adverts.
Yeah, it had raisins in it, didn't it? It was nice and chewy, but you know, it was gone very quickly, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Topic was quite nice. There's Picnic, that was another one.
Oh, I really like Picnic. Even though,
Mm,
in spite of the fact that it
Yeah.
had raisins in it,
yeah,
I still liked it. The way
Yeah.
something's presented affects the way you enjoy it.
yeah. Another one which I think came in the 60s and became a sort of standard was Twix.
Twix.
Yeah, I mean
Who
that
did the Twix adverts? Why am I seeing a picture of Eric Idle in my head?
based on what he did in Monty Python. He did the Breakaway bar ads, didn't he? Based on the Nudge Nudge sketch. Do you remember?
Of course he did.
Yeah.
And we used to sell Breakaway.
Yeah, he did an interesting thing. When I saw Monty Python at Drury Lane in '74, they did the Nudge Nudge sketch on stage.
Yeah.
And as a little extra in it, because that TV ad was current at the time, and he was sitting there, and he went, you know what I mean, Squire, Nudge Nudge, and then he looked over to one side of the stage, and he went, ugh, Breakaway. And that brought the house down, basically, yeah.
And then the Walnut Whip, of course.
Oh, yeah, Walnut Whip.
Now, as I recall,
Yeah.
the original Walnut Whip
Yes.
had a walnut on the top and also had one in
Yes.
the bottom.
Now, that was a favourite of mine, but there were two brands of Walnut Whip. There was Roundtree's Walnut Whip, and there was Duncan Walnut Whip. Because I used to love Walnut Whip. They were that bit special. They were a
Yeah.
treat. Duncan, that was the first one I was aware of, and that was the one that had the extra walnut at the bottom.
Ah. Now, there were, I think, 3 different versions, 3 different flavours, because you had a vanilla one,
Right.
coffee one.
Coffee, that's right.
I think there was another one. I can't remember what the other one was.
Right. Yeah, coffee, that's right. So that was a nice flavour in chocolate, wasn't it?
Going back to
Yeah.
going through the pain to get to the good bit,
Yeah.
you'd bite off the walnut on the top and eat that. But that would allow you then to get into the cream bit.
Right. That was your penance, was it? Yeah.
Cadbury's chocolate buttons.
Oh, yeah, well, that's an obvious one, wasn't it?
Mm.
I see that more as like a younger child sort of thing.
Yeah, and I see it as a Christmas thing as well.
Yeah.
The tube of Smarties. Do you remember the big tube of Smarties?
Yeah, I do remember them, yeah.
And I used to love taking the plastic lid off and kind of taking a mouthful of Smarties.
Now, that's a sensation I'd forgotten, actually, but now you said that, I can remember the feel of those
big mouthful of
Smarties coming into your mouth. Yeah. I'm back there.
Yeah.
But going back to Cadbury's a minute, there was a TV ad for that, wasn't there? Do you remember that so-and-so had been awarded the CDM, Cadbury's Dairy Milk? Do you remember that?
I got a CDM.
You got one? I'm actually talking to somebody who was awarded the CDM.
This is a memory I have of 50 years. Now, I can't remember what you had to do. I think you had to send off so many wrappers.
Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah.
And you would get a little tin medal, a Cadbury's medal that you wore, like a badge of honour.
Right, yeah.
That thought hasn't come out of my head.
That reminds me of another TV ad, actually. Mister, have you got a sixpenny box of chocolates? You can't get a sixpenny box of chocolates, lad. But you can buy a bag. Now take these Revels.
Thanks, Mr. Guyler.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I'd love to see that ad again.
So would I. I can see him standing there in might have been a khaki coat.
In a newsagent's, wasn't it?
Yes,
Over the counter,
I remember that very well.
Well, that was quite a new concept, Revels, at that time, because, I mean, it's quite right. You couldn't get a box of chocolates that was a very small one.
The other thing that you could get, though, was like a bar of milk tray. So it's like a bar of chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
In it were all the different...
The 5 center thing. Because originally it was 5 boys, wasn't it? Do you remember that?
I vaguely remember 5 boys.
5 flavours. It was chocolate cream, wasn't it, basically?
Yeah.
It was 5 different flavours. And you had the faces of 5 different children, all with different emotional expressions on their faces. One was sad, one was happy, kind of thing. But they all represented a different flavour.
Yeah.
And later on, they changed it to 5 centres, and I think it was changed again to something else afterwards.
Yes.
Another one I liked, actually, it was nice at the time, Toblerone.
Toblerone was very nice, and I think it had bits of almond in it, didn't it?
Yeah.
To me, we were in Cinzano Bianco territory.
Now, can you qualify that?
Well, what I mean by that is Toblerone is something you would buy for your first girlfriend, perhaps, or something your mum, your dad might buy for your mum.
Yeah.
It kind of just had a slightly more grown-up feel about it, I thought. But I think it was the ingredients.
Do you remember the ad?
And Mr. Confectionery, please give me Toblerone.
Yeah, I think we'll take it as read that we both remember that one.
But I think it was the ingredients that made it seem exotic. And I thought,
that's another one. Honeycomb in a bar, covered in chocolate. Not crunchy. I've got a feeling it might have just been called honeycomb.
Yeah.
It was around in the mid-60s, but it disappeared later on. And I used to really like it, whatever it was.
The only problem with crunchy, it tends to get stuck in between your teeth.
Yeah. Once it got wet, it stuck to your teeth. It made your teeth ache, didn't it?
Yeah.
Another chocolate bar I used to like, which went out very quickly, and of course there was a TV ad for that, was Toffee Crisp.
Well, I like Toffee Crisp, but do you remember Coffee Crisp?
Yeah, I do remember Coffee Crisp. Yeah, that was nice. And I was always sad when that disappeared, actually.
Kit Kat.
Oh, Kit Kat. Yeah, well, see, that's another staple. I dare say they're still making that, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Now, I remember very clearly when we were selling them in the shop, somewhere around about late 60s, the packaging on a Kit Kat very subtly changed, and I didn't like it.
Right, okay.
It always used to be, the wrapper always used to be orange with kind of cream-coloured lettering on it.
Yeah.
And then it changed to just a bright red with white lettering.
Would that be because the company that made them was bought out by another company?
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
It might have been when it went to Roundtree Macintosh. The wafer was still the same, but I didn't really like the new packaging.
There was another thing like Kit Kat, wasn't there? There was another.
Yeah, Bar 6.
Oh, Bar 6, yeah. That was nice. Yeah, I liked that.
Yeah, it was sort of like a slightly cheaper version. It was nice.
Yeah, I liked Bar 6. I mean, I used to buy that quite a bit. It was an orange packet, wasn't it? With,
Yeah.
with a circle on the...
And it had about 6 pieces going across. They weren't long, thin ones. They went across.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. But I suppose all those main things are still around, aren't they? Things like Kit Kat, and even if they've got different names.
Mars Bar, Bounty.
Bounty, Milky Way, are still being made.
Yes, Marathon, Snickers.
Yeah. Revels and Twix, Topic, yeah.
Yeah. And what sweet was covered with a crisp candy coat?
Treats, wasn't it?
Yeah. Treats, yeah.
Treats.
Can you still get treats?
Yes, I think you can. I think they've been called something else, though.
Yeah, that's all wrong as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's Snickers?
Snickers, yeah, well, that's nothing, is it? I mean, it's just the Americanisation of British culture. That's all that is, as far as I can see.
Yeah.
So it's in line with other countries,
Well,
basically.
I went to America in 1980.
Yeah.
For the first time. I think I was 22. And it was a bit of a culture shock. Right in the middle of California.
Oh, yeah.
And I was trying to find something familiar that I could kind of connect with food-wise. Because you go in a supermarket and you don't recognise any of the foods. It's all foreign and weird.
Yes.
And then on the shelf, I saw Bounty bars.
Bounty? Really?
And I thought, fantastic.
Wow.
So I picked up a Bounty bar, opened it up, bit into it. What is this? And it wasn't Bounty like we know. It was like nougat or nugget with cherries and peanuts in it.
It's called
Bounty. It's Bounty. It's all the same packaging.
That sounds more like Topic.
Well, it was nearer to a Topic than a Bounty.
Yeah.
But it was like really disappointing because I thought, I must have found something I can connect with.
They must have a completely different history of sweets then there.
Candy.
Nothing familiar, no brands that are...
Not at that time. That was another thing that used to come out in the comics. Adverts for Hershey bars.
I was so familiar with the names because I saw them in the comics. DC and Marvel comics, but... I used to think, what are they like? And they used to talk about things like popsicle,
Yeah, it's another world, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I'd have been happier with a pink shrimp dispenser myself.
Ice cream.
Okay.
Well, one particular thing is like ice cream vans.
Oh.
That used to come around. I had certain favourites, some were better than others. I didn't like Tony Bell so much.
I think I quite like Tony Bell.
Yeah.
But one thing I could never get, the idea of chocolate with ice cream doesn't work for me. Yeah, having a 99.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the flake is hard and cold, isn't it? It's not soft chocolate.
No.
The flakes were usually, they look like they're quite stale as well. And I expect they've been in stock for a long time. No.
I think it's Harry Hill talks about ice cream vans.
Yeah.
And he said, where did they go to buy that many stale flakes in one place? Yeah.
Oh, he obviously had the same thought.
And I think it's Room 101.
The music that was used on Tony Bell is still being used today. I hear it on ice cream vans, so it must be a standard jingle.
Yeah.
It's like a sort of music box type thing.
Yeah.
Another one was Popeye the Sailor. That's still being used as well.
I really love the old Mr. Whippy soft ice cream.
Yeah.
Lovely. And I didn't mind that red sauce they put on it. What was that?
Raspberry sauce, I think. They used to ask you, didn't they, what you wanted on them.
Yeah.
I just remembered El Dorado ice cream as well. That used to be nice. You didn't see that very much. You saw it in the odd few places, and there was even a trike that used to come around the streets selling it.
Yeah.
It was like a three-wheeler bicycle with a deep freeze on it, and you used to lift the lid.
Yeah.
Mr. Softy, that was another one.
Mr. Softy. Incidentally, do you know what the oldest ice cream manufacturer in the world is?
Oh, that's interesting. Not Rossi, is it? By any chance?
No,
Right,
it's Walls of Jericho.
Right, okay. That's probably an old joke, but I haven't heard that one before.
Chris Tarrant cracked that joke on Tiswas in 1980.
Yeah.
I think it was. I might be thinking about Woolworths here.
Right.
Where you'd get an ice cream in a cone, and it was like a cylinder of ice cream, a round cylinder, like hard ice cream.
Yeah.
Remember, we used to get like an ice cream block.
Like an individual version of the family brick.
Family brick, about an inch thick.
Yeah.
And you'd put that between two wafers. You'd go to lick it, and it's still freezing cold, and your tongue sticks to it. And it's really painful.
Yeah, I can remember that.
Until it starts to melt.
Yeah, I presume they still make those, don't they?
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
In our shop, we sold Lion's Made.
Yeah.
So we had a Lion's Made version, but I think Walls did the same thing.
I think I had a preference for Lion's Made back in those days, actually. Used to think that their ice cream was slightly nicer, and also they had more imaginative things, because they had all the things like Zoom and that as well, didn't they?
They did, yes.
That was all Lion's
Made. They did.
Yeah.
I was dead lucky because we sold
Yeah,
those things.
yeah. Ice cream was always a treat, wasn't it?
But then, of course, you could ask for a lolly. So if it was a Walls lolly, it would be rounded at the top.
Yeah.
And you could get a lime one. You could get a cider one.
Cider, yeah.
My favourite, though, was spearmint.
Well, spearmint. My mum used to pull a face at spearmint. She didn't like the concept of spearmint. She liked normal peppermint, didn't like spearmint. There is a subtle difference, isn't there?
There is a subtle difference.
Yeah, hard to say what it is. There was one of the ice cream vans that used to come round. It wasn't necessarily one of the biggest chains, but it always used to have this ice cream on it, which we liked. It was a thing called Yum Yum. Do you remember those? It was one of the ice cream vans used to come round, and we had a real craze for getting Yum Yums. And it was basically what it was. It was an ice cream. It was on a stick. It was conical shaped. It had paper around it, like a rocket cone with a stick in the middle of it. And inside it was banana ice cream, which was a rarity.
That's posh.
I loved banana ice cream.
Oh,
And it had something else in the middle. Might have been a lolly of some sort. And it had some different elements inside in the middle. We loved these things because it was the only place you could get banana ice cream. I thought that was a natural flavour to make ice cream in. But, it never caught on.
well, when I was at secondary school, this would have been about 1970, possibly 71.
Yeah,
I had a friend called Paul.
Yeah.
And at lunchtimes, an ice cream van used to come into the school grounds. They allowed him in. And I remember one day I would have threepence.
Yeah.
So it must have been pre-71, threepence to buy an ice cream, or threepence.
Yeah, threepence,
And
yeah.
we'd go, and this one particular day, it was in the middle of winter.
Mm.
It was freezing cold and it was foggy, and the ice cream van turned up, and me and my friend Paul were absolutely frozen, but we still wanted to have an ice cream. And this guy sold what they called tiger tubs.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
So it was a tub of ice cream, and it had orange and brown kind of stripe. I said, "Oh, can I have a tiger tub, please?" He said, "Yes. Special offer today, 2 tiger tubs for threepence."
Right.
What?
Wow.
So I gave my threepence.
Is it because it was winter and nobody was buying them?
We were the only people there. Now, there was another posh boy in our class, and he said, "I'll have banana lolly, please." And that was sixpence. It was double the price. I wish I could afford a 6p banana lolly.
Yeah, that reminds me of something else. When I was at infant school, there was a boy that had, he weren't rich, but they obviously had enough money. And he always used to get bought the expensive ice creams and stuff when he went into the shop. After school, he would go into the newsagents and you'd see him in there. Do you remember that there was an ice cream called Heart?
Yeah. Was that like a girly one?
It was chocolate covered. It was heart-shaped ice cream on a stick.
Yeah.
It was quite expensive. It was one of the most expensive individual ones. It was about a shilling.
Shilling?
In those days,
Wow.
when most of them were around about sixpence. And I remember going into this newsagent's called Hills, and I was in there to buy some sweets myself. And he was in there with his nan, I think, and she'd bought him a Heart. And I thought, oh, it's typical of him, he'd have the most expensive
one. Yeah.
But the thing that really rubbed me up was that he knew that he got the most expensive ice cream. He made sure that he saw that other people saw that he had it.
He's probably in senior management now.
Yeah, smug.
Somewhere.
Going back to something you said earlier on, talking about ice creams.
Yeah.
I used to really like, in that sort of field, Bird's Eye used to make it. And you didn't always find it in the ice cream freezer in the newsagents, but you'd find it in a grocer's freezer sometimes. That size of a choc ice, mousse.
Oh, mousse.
Remember those?
Yes.
You used to get them in the freezer, and it was like the size of a choc ice, like a rectangle individual. And you used to get a strawberry one and a chocolate
That's
one.
right.
And I think there are other flavours as well. They were slightly sort of gelatinous sort of quality, but they're really nice.
I'm sure we sold them. I think they did raspberry as well.
Yeah, might well have done, yeah.
That's right. Yes, it wasn't a really light, fluffy. It was a bit more solid, wasn't it?
Yeah, I liked those.
Yeah.
And to junior school, I had like a 15-minute walk. And about halfway down the street, there was a grocer's shop. And they had a refrigerator and they sold them in there. They didn't sell them in the newsagents across the road. But I used to go in there specifically to get a mousse sometimes on the way home from school.
Well, I remember Jubblies.
Yeah, Jubblies. Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
yeah.
I always preferred the Jubbly when it was really cold but still liquid.
I think I agree with you.
The street shop where we used to go, normally you go in there and they were frozen. And the problem with it being frozen is that you suck all the juice out of it. But then you just got a block of ice. It's useless.
Was virtually transparent, wasn't it? And you had jungle juice as well, didn't you?
Jungle juice. That was really, I think that came along a little bit later.
Yeah,
that was almost like a Ribena colour.
Yeah.
There was another rocket-inspired lolly, I'm sure, not the Zoom.
Orbit.
It might have been Orbit.
I'm just trying to think because
Well,
quite a few of those ads were promoted by Jerry Anderson commercials, weren't they?
Yes, I'm sure
Um,
Zoom was.
Yeah, Zoom. Skyray was another one. Yeah. A lot of these things are triggered by memories of the TV ads for them.
Yeah, I was just about to burst into funny faces there.
Oh, funny faces. Hey, hey, hey.
With a load of kids dressed up as gangsters.
Yeah,
What's that all about?
yeah, that's right.
In a car. Why would they do that?
Why would they?
Didn't Funny Faces have like the two eyes?
Yes.
Was that chocolate?
No, I think it was ice cream.
Yeah.
Well, that was a bit like Yum Yum in the sense that it was ice cream on a stick and it was a funny shape ice cream, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you would actually eat it in a slightly different way, I think. If it was a normal ice lolly, you'd kind of bite it off. If it was an ice cream lolly, you ended up kind of pulling it out of your mouth and kind of sucking it into a kind of a sort of torpedo shape as it melted.
Yeah. Another one I was just thinking of was Fab. I used to like Fab because I loved the idea of the hundreds and thousands on it.
I always thought it was a girl's ice lolly.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
And the same thing with the heart shape. It's not my place to be eating the heart shape.
Not your place. Yeah.
They should put a little warning on it, a picture of a little boy with a circle around it with a line going through it.
Yeah.
Like a road sign, not for boys.
Yeah.
The thing about Zoom was, the Zoom lolly was 3 bits. Now,
Yeah.
the top bit was the green cone, the rocket. But the green bit on the top was very, very thin. So the trick was you had to get the green bit off without damaging what was underneath.
Right.
Because what was underneath was banana.
Ah, yes.
So you be really carefully with your teeth, get the green bit off and get through that. And then it revealed the banana bit, and then you could indulge yourself. So it goes back to the idea, you've got to suffer a little bit.
Yeah.
There was something on the radio just the other day, and this guy was talking about when he goes on holiday, he deliberately does things that he doesn't enjoy doing to make the holiday seem longer.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, really? Does it work?
It probably does work.
You know, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about jobs you have to do in life, routine, people you like, people you don't like. You have to get past the bits you don't like to get to the bits that you do like.
That's right.
There are always sweets you didn't particularly like. And sometimes, you know, if you were offered them by your parents or something, anything that was going, you'd have it.
Yeah.
But you'd think it would rather be something else. But it made you appreciate the good stuff more.
Absolutely.
There's another area of sweets and confectionery we haven't talked about at all yet. Crisps.
Oh, don't get me started.
When we were very young, I mean, Smiths were the brand leaders, weren't they? All I can remember was Smiths, and there were 3 flavours. Plain, cheese and onion, and hamburger. Do you remember that?
Hamburger? I don't remember that.
I mean, it must have died out very quickly. I mean, the ready salted ones had a twist of salt in them.
Yeah.
They were the only flavours that Smiths seemed to do. And then later on, they added salt and vinegar, which was a big...
salt and vinegar.
When that came in, that was a big flavour.
It was. And then smoky bacon.
Yeah, and then smoky bacon, that's right. And then roast chicken, I seem to remember. I think it was in that order, in fact.
Yeah.
But then there was a newcomer on the scene. Golden Wonder came in.
With the little funny man with the hat on.
Yeah.
I love Golden Wonder.
That's right, yeah.
Harry Hill makes a comment about Smith's crisps.
Yeah.
He says, please, Smith's, it's green for cheese and onion, not blue. Because it always used to be green for cheese and onion, blue for salt and vinegar.
Blue was salt and vinegar, that's right.
And now they changed it.
Yeah.
But then they started to get a bit more exotic, didn't it? You got the smoky bacon.
Smoky bacon was red.
Yeah.
Roast chicken was sort of like orange colour.
Oh, roast chicken, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That would be the alternative to a taxi or blue ribbons.
Yeah.
I might get a packet of Golden Wonder.
An interesting one, the Chipmunk brand, which you didn't see everywhere. You used to see it in certain places. They did OXO flavoured crisps, and they were very nice.
I remember them.
But yeah, you didn't see them everywhere. And I suppose about the mid-60s, the flavours of crisps you could get, they just suddenly exploded, and there were loads of them. I've got a feeling that Golden Wonder might have been responsible for smoky bacon. I've got a feeling they brought those in.
Yeah. Sometimes in a local sweet shop, they would have like a little presentation thing. So if it was Quality Street, they'd have a little stand where they'd put the big Quality Street tin with the lid off, kind of tempting you to go for the Quality Street. And of course, Quality Street in itself was a mixed bag, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
So you had like strawberry cream, lovely.
Yeah.
And then there'd be like a real hard toffee one.
They got left till the end, didn't they?
My favourite one was the orange cream, which was in kind of like a gold twisted wrap. And actually, it was dark chocolate, but this time it actually really worked well.
I always get Quality Street and Roses mixed up. So they were a bit interchangeable to me. I can't quite remember one from the other, but one of them had a purple plastic twist, transparent plastic twist, and it
with
was
a nut inside.
Yeah, it was a chocolate Brazil covered in chocolate.
Yeah.
That was nice. And there was one which was like a green triangle in silver paper.
That was like pretty solid. There might be some nutty bits in there.
Yeah, and it looked just like the ABC logo.
Yes.
And it was in green silver paper.
I tended to think of that as a slightly more grown up one.
Mm.
I always associate Quality Street with another sweet. I don't know if you remember these. They're called Lucky Numbers.
Remember the name?
They were sort of like toffee sweets. Again, they were a bit more grown up because they were more chewy, toffee sort of.
When you were younger, you went for more kind of highly flavoured, gimmicky sweets, very sugary and bright coloured, and they had very immediate sort of flavour in your face.
Yeah.
And as you got older, you sort of gravitated towards more chocolate bars and things like that, didn't you?
Yes.
Which seemed like more sensible and grown up, which were more substantial.
Well, we always remember opal fruits, of course.
Opal fruits, made to make mouth water.
Of course.
Yeah.
And of course, you'd have your favourites. Green was right at the bottom of the list. Strawberry, the pink one, that was right at the top.
Yeah.
Orange and yellow were okay.
Yeah, they were good, yeah.
Was there a purple one in there?
Going back to the TV ad again. Fresh with the tang of citrus, 4 refreshing fruit flavours. Orange, lemon, strawberry, lime, etc., etc. I think it was the 4 flavours,
There was another cousin to the opal fruit.
Yeah.
Which was like a mint version.
Opal mints. I don't think they're made there now, are they?
Yes.
There were a few like that, though, weren't there? Was it Toffos and Mintos? In a tube, like a long packet.
Yeah.
Nuttall's made them, I seem to remember.
Nuttall's.
Yeah.
Yes. Munchies.
Munchies, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Wasn't the Mintola the same shape as Munchies?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Dark chocolate with mint inside.
That's what I'm thinking of, yeah. It was the same thing, but it was a mint version of it, kind of thing. Yeah, it had a different name. That's right, you're right.
Spangles,
yeah.
Old English Spangles.
Oh, yeah, didn't like
quite
those.
Strong.
Yeah.
Quite like them, but the normal Spangles, a bit boring. Really.
Yeah, and this is another connected area to sweets and confectionery, actually. Breakfast cereals.
Yes.
I can remember sending off for free gifts from breakfast cereals by collecting a load of packet tops. And it was for a flick book. Do you remember those?
Oh, yes.
There's one of Huckleberry Hound that I sent off for. It's just a little, tiny little thing. It was about 3 inches by 3 inches kind of thing. A little flick book of Huckleberry Hound skiing down this mountainside and hitting a tree at the bottom.
Right.
And then looking knowingly towards the viewer.
There's something magical about those, isn't there?
Yeah. Talking about chocolate, another step towards adult confectionery.
Yeah.
As you start to get a little bit older, going from chocolate bars at Christmas and stuff like that, you get boxes of chocolates,
Well, my dad used to buy a dairy box for my
mum.
Yeah. And he used to say to me, look at this. There was like a chocolate log.
Yes.
And you'd lift that up, and underneath was a little bit of square chocolate.
Oh, like a make weight sort of thing.
Yeah. And he said that was to make up the weight.
Yeah.
And to me, it was like a little, look, secret.
Yeah, I know what you mean, exactly. It's like a trade test film that was hidden in the schedules, which wasn't advertised.
And it wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah, and there's a secret chocolate underneath the other chocolate.
That's right. Well, you were getting something for nothing.
Yeah, that's right. But you weren't really, because the other chocolates were underweight.
And then you had to try and resist the temptation. You take all the nice sweets off the top layer, and then you'd be really tempted to go to the second layer before you'd finish the horrible chewy toppy ones on the top. Now, of course, Rebels, forgive the pun, but Rebels was a mixed bag, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I mean, you'd pull one out and you'd hope that it was the coconut one or the orange one.
I don't think there were many I didn't like in Rebels.
The only dodgy one was the toffee one.
Toffee,
because you'd expect your teeth to go straight through it and get the orange. It just hit this toffee and then, oh, God, that's horrible.
Yeah. Talking about boxes of chocolates. I remember when Contrast came in about the mid-60s, and that was slightly different because it was a dark chocolate selection, wasn't it?
You see, that was really for people that drink Cinzano.
Sophisticated.
Yeah, it's dead sophisticated.
Yeah, I mean, they did paint it that way. I did like them. The flavours were different.
Yeah.
My mum used to like them because I remember buying them for her.
Yeah.
If I wanted to get him a mum's good books, was to buy her a box of milk tray for Christmas
Oh.
or a birthday. If I bought those, I'd be guaranteed praised kind of thing.
Milk tray.
Yeah.
Well, for some reason, my dad always used to buy Dairy Box.
Yeah,
and I
we
quite
had-
like Dairy Box, but
Yeah.
which I think was Roundtree.
Yes,
But Milk
yeah.
Tray was Cadbury's.
Yes.
So it's
right.
always going to win, isn't it? I do remember when After 8 Mints came along. There was
Yeah.
something sort of quite fascinating about taking out an individual slice in its own little wrapper.
My dad was very critical after 8. He used to think, well, there's hardly anything in there. It's just all packaging,
Yeah.
Because it's like just this wafer thin mint, and there was no substance to it at all.
Very true.
Yeah.
Did they do an orange version of it?
They
at
could have
some
done,
stage?
yeah, might have done. I'll tell you what you might be thinking of, which was the same sort of, basically the same thing in a different shape, was Matchmakers.
Oh, yeah.
Mint and orange, didn't you?
Matchmakers. Yes.
Talking about boxes of chocolates, another box was Good News. You remember those?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And Mon Chéri.
Yeah.
It was a bit poncy in French.
Yeah. Is that Cinzano territory again?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Oh, I know what one I was thinking of. It was after Contrast, so I'm talking late 60s, Reward. Remember?
Reward, yeah.
With commercial had a voiceover by Patrick McNee.
Oh, I'd love to see that again.
Yeah, I would.
Reward, I would put in the same compartment as Contrast. They're a similar shaped box.
Yeah.
Like a long, oblong shape rather than a square.
I sort of call them like the new wave of boxes of chocolates, I should say, because they came in the sort of mid to late 60s. And
Yeah.
they were slightly different.
Yeah.
And targeted slightly differently.
I can still remember the music to the Mon Chéri advert, actually.
Oh, yes, yes.
And those are like balalaikas. It's a little bit like a Sing Something Simple. It was Mon Chéri, Mon Chéri.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. And I remember my dad had his nose put right out of joint.
Did he?
We used to get these sales reps.
Right.
They didn't call them
Right.
sales managers in the 60s. They were sales reps.
Sales reps, yeah.
So they'd come round from the various companies
Yeah.
trying to sell their wares.
Mm.
And there was one particular guy who was a bit smarmy, and he took a bit of a shine to my mum, actually.
Oh, really?
So he would come in and he was sort of chatting my mum up.
Right.
And one day he came in with a box of Mon Chéri chocolates for her.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Dad had the right hump. I mean, in those days, that was class. If you bought someone Mon Chéri chocolates.
What a smooth operator.
Yeah.
It's like, was it the Fast Show, Swiss Tony?
Yeah, he was. He was Swiss Tony.
Yeah. The finest Belgian chocolates.
Yeah, selling a car is very much like making love to a beautiful woman.
Yeah, yeah. If I go into a newsagent's or a supermarket these days, just out of pure nostalgia, I tend to look at the brands of sweets just purely to find out what's still being made.
Yeah.
They've probably just become part of the wallpaper now, but they were once considered like a treat.
Well, of course, a real treat back in the day.
Yeah.
My dad used to come home, this would be early 60s now, he'd come home and he had this leather briefcase.
Yeah.
And he'd say to me, what's in there today then? Oh.
Bit like looking through the play school window.
Yeah. And he'd open it up and there'd be like a pack of fruit pastels, or it might be a tube of fruit gums.
Oh, don't forget the fruit jumps, chum.
So he would normally bring me something home. And I think I started getting pocket money probably when I was about 7 or 8, I suppose.
Yes, yes.
And I can't remember what it was, but I think it might have been threepence.
Oh, really? Yeah. I think the first pocket money I got was, I think I got 2 shillings, a florin.
A florin, yeah.
Yeah. That would be when I was about 7, I think.
But when you started getting pocket money, that really opened up possibilities, didn't it, for buying sweets and comics and everything else?
Yeah. I went to go shopping with my mum to Woolworths in Ruislip High Street.
Yeah, that was another thing. Woolworths had their own particular types of sweets and confectionery, didn't they?
Somewhere near the entrance would be a wooden behind counter.
And there we must leave them. Time to go home now. Why not pop in again soon to revisit some more old memories? At the Time Warp Tavern. Last orders, please.